Hello, 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 everyone. Welcome to another episode of Testimony Tuesday. Joining me once again, everyone, woo woo, is Coach Holly. Yes, she's back
Hey,
again, y'all.
everybody. Yes.
We are doing this again. Yes, we've been getting a lot of good feedback. So we wanted to do one more collaboration together. Well, we say that, and then Holy Spirit may say something else. But as it stands right now, y'all, we're saying one more time of collaboration. But before we get into the purpose of today's discussion, I was, as we always do, like a I can't even say interview because I didn't interview Coach Holly. As we did a working session, we'll say that. As we had our working session, I said, Coach Holly, Holy Spirit has been getting on me that we don't market enough. I mean, we're a whole authors, and did I not bring but it's on the screen. I didn't even bring my tangible book in here, but we are whole authors. We have social media platforms, we have websites, and we never talk about it, so we are going to do better when you know better.
Yes, got to do better.
Right, y'all? So I will kick it off to Coach Holly first because she is my guest. I will go last. And so, Coach Holly, please tell us about your projects that you already have, anything that you're working on, your website, and your book, because you are a whole author. So please share.
So my website is www.themultifacetedsoul.com, and that is also my brand. I chose that because I feel like I am a person that is definitely multifaceted, and I do a lot of different things. By profession, I'm a licensed mental health counselor, and so that's primarily what I spend a lot of my time doing is working with people in the area of mental health, but I also am a group fitness instructor. So I kind of consider myself a wellness person, in that we can talk about the mind, but we can also talk about different things to help get your body moving. And like she said, I am an author. I have a book and therapeutic workbook. It's called The Wow Factor, Woman of the Well, and it is geared more so towards single women, and it is a journey to wholeness. But there's also, it can be used for any woman regarding of where you find yourself in life, but it's all about being that woman at the woman at the well that encounters Jesus and is on a journey to being made whole. So there's a book, and there's a therapeutic workbook that goes along with that. So feel free to check out my website. You can email me, you can shoot me a message on there, and I will be more than happy to talk to you, provide any feedback, anything that I may be able to do to help you on your journey to wholeness.
Love that. Love it. Journey to Wholeness, therapeutic workbook. So y'all don't be surprised, wink, if y'all see that coming out, because God said it's time for me to come out with a workbook next. And I was like, therapeutic workbook, y'all. I might just borrow that, y'all. Yes, I love that. Therapeutic workbook. So I also have a YouTube channel. Those of you who are on Facebook, you can follow me at Phoenix Arise, which many of you do. And then also on the YouTube platform, my channel is Redeemed Podcast with Nikia, Nequia, and you spell out Redeemed. So Redeemed Podcast with Nikia. I also have a website, www.IamNikiaSpeaks. And I also am an author myself. And we're going to put that on the screen. Yes, it's called Help. I'm in an emotional entanglement, a resource guide to severing soul ties, because we don't need them, right? We sever soul ties. We don't keep soul ties. Yes and amen. And it is on Amazon. You can find it on Amazon, and it also could be purchased on my website as well. So thank you, everyone, for supporting us in our endeavors. And so we wanted to make sure that we did better about promoting our resources so that we can also be an added resource or benefit to anyone outside of these social media platforms. All right. Or times that we go live. I should say that we are also able to be a resource. All right. So y'all, without further ado, May is Mental Health Awareness Month. And I said, Coach Holly, we cannot let this month go by without broadcasting. Cannot. We have been so intentional about discussing the wounded warrior and just the effects of trauma and just mental health in its totality. I did not want, there was one aspect the Holy Spirit said you haven't touched and hadn't discussed really in detail, which was our youth. So that's where we came up with that topic of us wanting to discuss mental health and our youth. Let's talk about it. Yes, yes. So I'm gonna tag Coach Holly in a second, but I wanted you all to know I was watching. I was involved in a professional development. I'll say that, and many of the professional developments nowadays they're on like webinars and things of that nature. And so I was watching the speaker, and y'all, when I tell you I have a whole master's degree in social work, I promise y'all I do. But I had even myself not even changed my lens or my perspective into looking at mental health just like it's physical health, it's also mental health. I was like, I always equated mental health to also mean somebody's thinking like you needed mental intervention or mental health, there was some type of mental illness associated with that. That's just me, y'all. Y'all forgive me. Whenever I heard someone talk about mental health, I always equated it to mean something was wrong. That's bad, y'all. Like I couldn't even tell y'all where I got that from. But so when I heard the speaker say mental health is even likened to physical health, I was like, well, drop the mic. I mean, come on, who knew? So Coach Hollywood, when we talked about that, what came to mind for you you weren't surprised when I said it, but I mean, was that like an aha moment have you ever heard anybody else say, I thought of mental health to be having like a negative stigma attached to it?
And a lot of times, because there are different categories, people often interchange them and they're not necessarily interchangeable. Just like you pointed out, the physical health, that's somebody's current state of their physical being. Well, mental health speaks to the same thing, but just from a mental perspective. So when we talk about mental health, it's referring to how healthy is your mind right now? How healthy are your emotions right now? The term that you're thinking about when you're talking about some sort of illness, just like there can be physical disease in the body or there's a physical illness, mental illness speaks to a disease of the mind. Yeah. So mental illness and mental health are not the same. Mm-hmm. And then also there's mental wellness. Mental wellness speaks to those things that you are doing to improve your overall mental health, or those changes that you need to make to have an overall better mental health. So mental health is your current condition right now as you stand. Mental illness speaks to a disease of your mind or your emotions, and mental wellness are those steps that you are taking proactively to improve your overall mental well-being or the things that you're going to do. So that's why they can be a little bit confusing. But just like you said, we all have mental health. We all have a physical body, and we can rate our body based on how healthy we think it is. We all have that. And so it's not a negative stigma, but it's more so of an awareness. That's why May is Mental Health Awareness Month, being aware of your mental health. But in order for you to make any sort of changes, you have to first be aware of where you are right now.
Yeah, that's so good. That was a perfect segue, because also in the PD, the professional development, they talked about mental health being on a continuum, right? Mm-hmm. And it be on like building blocks. And so our goal is to, let's say it always should be built upon. So I liken it to me, not the speaker. And in high school, you may start off in the 9th grade and you have algebra. And then you go to the 10th grade and then you have geometry. And after geometry, you have trigonometry. And after trigonometry, you have calculus. It's all, but you can't go into geometry having never had algebra. Mm-hmm. So it all is like building blocks. It's built upon. So I love that where it said with mental health and mental health awareness, taking a person on a continuum to make sure that their health is whole and that they're healed, and that it's placing them on a continuum of where they're thriving and enjoying life, and whatever that may look like, and thriving may look different for me than it looks for you. But as long as it's thriving and healthy and beneficial for me, then I'm moving up the continuum and I'm not going down the continuum based off of life circumstances, based off of hereditary, based off of the many different factors. They said we can go up and down the continuum depending upon what's going on in life. Does that sound pretty accurate? Okay.
And that's what I was just about to say, like with anything else in regards to our physical health. Typically when we're younger, we would say that we were in the best physical condition of our lives for many of us. But as we have babies, as we go through many different things, it changes our overall physical state. And so then we have to be proactive. We have to exercise, monitor our diet. And then we just go through different things that affect our overall physical health. Well, it's the same thing mentally. The things and challenges that we may face as when we are younger, those challenges may intensify, right? And so it's always about maintaining your overall mental health, because things come up that cause us more stress, that cause us more anxiety. We go through different seasons that affect our overall mental health. So we're never at a place where I think we maximize our mental health, but we should always be striving. Maslow is a well-known psychologist that talked about hierarchy of needs. And so we are always trying to strive for self-actualization, which is at the very top of that hierarchy. And so we never arrive to a place where we can say, I've mastered my mental health. I've mastered my overall mental well-being. But I think we can master our awareness, again, of where we are, so that when we have maybe come down on that continuum, we already have tools in our tool belt that we can implement to bring that mental health back to a place that allows us to function at a capacity that we need to.
Oh, I love that. That's so good. I'm just sharing this out. Y'all share this out. Share, share, share. As I say, sharing is caring, y'all. So make sure y'all share this broadcast out.
Yes.
This is some good content. Y'all know Coach Holly, she always brings the pain, y'all, in a good way.
Yes. Yes. It's all about some accountability. So that's just kind of what we're here to do, help provide information, but to also just make sure we are challenging your perspective just a little bit on some things.
Absolutely. So social media came on our radar because oftentimes when you think of youth, or for me, because I have two preteens, you can't help but to think of the devices that are in their hand, whether it be their iPads, whether it be their telephones. So naturally, as a parent, as a mom, even as we have men here that are as fathers, you always want to think of ways that you are parenting effectively. And I'm often concerned about the amount of time our daughters are on the amount of screen time that they're exposing themselves to. And I've found, and we're gonna flow, right, Coach Holly? We're gonna flow. I've often found times when I have said, that's enough screen time. It's time to put your phones down. It's time to put the iPads down. I immediately see a change in personality. I can't speak for anybody else's. I'll speak for my own. Whether it's anger initially, or the pouting comes, or the passive aggressiveness comes, and even some type of almost like anxiety, like, no, well, what are we going to do now? What am I going to do to entertain myself? Like the thought of going outside and playing just goes out the window. Like nobody thinks about, could you go outside and get some fresh air? It's almost like, what am I to do now that I don't have this device to this stimuli to entertain me? Mm-hmm. And so that's often concerning for me as a parent, for the amount of screen time that our youth, and I often wonder how that affects them. I'm going to pass the baton over to you, Charlie.
So if we can think about, like, maybe when we were younger, we didn't necessarily have the access to the devices that, our children, and then, even some people that have grandchildren did. I grew up in the 1990s, graduated in 2000, and I was excited when I was like about 16 and I had a little clear pager and couldn't tell me nothing, had me a little gold clip chain on my little pager. That was our technology. And then when somebody wanted to text you or message you, they'd send you numbers, you'd flip it upside down and read it, right? Yes. That's what we had. Then around my senior year, Nokia came out with the first little phone. It was in black and white, and you really couldn't do anything with it. Mm-hmm. But now, even the kids when they're little. So when you talked about the reaction of your daughters when you take away their phone, or you say it's time to put it away, and they have an emotional response. Well, I think about babies. typically when we have newborn babies, you gonna take this pacifier because we know if they take a pacifier, it soothes them,
Yes.
it calms them, they become reliant on the pacifier. And so as a mother, I was like, they're gonna take this passy. Because it's a lifesaver. When they're crying or you need to do something, they can take the passy and it soothes them. Well, we replace that pacifier now with phones and devices.
Come on.
As little as 6 months old, and they cry and we give them a phone. I know 1-year-olds that know how to find their channel on YouTube. Because that's what they do. So you're seeing, and again, this is no shame to parenting.
No, not at all. Not at all.
Anything, because I've done it too. My boys are a lot older, but I've been there. You sit them in front of a TV or you give them something to keep them busy because it works. So just please hear our heart in this. This is not shaming. You're just
no judgment.
Information so that you can see why you're seeing some of the behaviors. So they start out as little people, and we hand them a device. We hand them a phone. We hand them a tablet. Now they've gotten fancy with tablets that you can get little kid tablets. And some of them are good because they teach them like their ABCs, and they have a lot. LeapPad was one that my boys had when they were little. And so it can be good. But now they can access, YouTube, and then some of the YouTube, like I saw Gracie's Corner and I was like, okay. Like we didn't have that growing up. We had Sesame Street.
Yes.
Well, it can be good, but like anything else, it has to be in moderation.
Absolutely.
So when these kids from a toddler or maybe even babies, they're accustomed to satisfying and pacifying themselves with stimulus that comes from a screen, whether it's YouTube, whether it's videos, whether it's TV, whether they're playing games, whatever it is, it's still stimulus. Right. Yes. And so then when you take that from them, because now it's opened up an addictive part of the brain, they are responding to an addiction that has been created. But we don't even realize that it's a problem until it's a problem.
Come on.
Most times when you want to punish your children, what do we say? Give me your phone. And they'd rather you beat their butts or, do anything but take my phone.
Anything, take my phone.
I'll go sit in my room with the lights off. I don't take my phone. But then too, like you said, parenting has changed. When I was growing up, you didn't have going outside wasn't a conversation. It wasn't anything that we negotiated. You will go outside. You will be outside all day. Be in this house before it gets dark.
Yes.
And you're gonna drink from the water fountain. Like it was just kids, you were outside. It's what you did. Now you drive through neighborhoods, you don't see kids outside playing.
No, you do not. You
don't see them. But that's where kids were able to get out some of that energy. That's where kids were able to learn, and we'll get into it a little bit more. They learned social skills. They learned things that they needed to be able to just survive in the world. And so now kids don't have the ability to socialize because they're not social. The only socialization that they get is through social media, but it's unrealistic. It's like a virtual world that they now live in. So they're able to live inside this social media virtual space. But then when you place them in a real world situation, they have no clue what to do. And now they're socially awkward. Because they haven't developed the skills that they need to because they don't have to. And that's been the challenge.
We're going to flow, Coach. We got this paper, y'all, and this agenda, but y'all know we flow. I could care less about this. We're going to hit the point, y'all, but they're going to not be in the order that we said. We're going to flow. We're going to flow. So with you saying that was a perfect segue. I'm thinking about even me being in education, having to de-escalate, be a major figure in helping them to de-escalate situations that happen in the school. And I'm talking about y'all from kindergarten all the way up to high school. I still had to mediate situations that I know as a young adult and even as a preteen, I know that I was able to work out because I played outside and I was in the neighborhood and we had to work that out before you came in the house, or you had to go make sure you handled that before because that we were taught to do that. And in here on a very basic, primitive level, I will put them in front of one another and they don't even know where to begin. They don't know how to start the conversation. They don't know how to express, well, this is the way I felt. This is the way you made me feel. They don't know how to, even do I feel statements or none of that. It's all like, you come, you figure it out, you fix it for me. And then once you fix it and then it breaks down again, I'm going to come to the adult again and you fix it again. Like they're not taught the skills to even know how to problem solve. And that's very concerning.
Right.
For me.
And so I'll respond, but I'm not able to see comments that may be coming from your page. So I'll let you check to see if there's any comments or any questions coming from your pages. Because I can't see them.
I don't have any. I have people, Rosalia Strickland, thank you for joining us. I have Akisha, I have Monica, Angelia. So folks are on and they're agreeing. I don't see any questions as of yet.
Okay, yes. So we'll check in. And so it's kind of funny that you mentioned how kids don't now have the skills that are necessary. It's almost like they've been underdeveloped, but that's exactly what happens. And so our ability to form logic and reason, and when it comes to our ability to socialize and be interactive and just kind of know what to do socially, a lot of that is in our prefrontal cortex. And so when we have increased screen time, so these babies are now getting increased brain activity, you would think that because the brain is being more active, that it would actually help the brain development. But on the contrary, it actually delays brain development because the brain is working at such an excess speed. The things that are needing to be developed, like the skills that we learned, your mama fat, your daddy fat, and we friends. Like we learned how to, jank, but we would be cool by the end of the day. Like we were able to have that emotional regulation, or we were able to confront and go to you. I heard you was talking about my mama. We were able to do those things, right? Yes. But now they don't have those skills that are necessary because those parts of the brain are underdeveloped. Yes. And so now you have children who should be functioning at a certain level. You have 12, 13, 14-year-olds who, when I was 12, I feel like I was reasonably mature, but now they're acting like 6, 7, 8-year-olds, right? Yes. Because of that lack of brain development.
This is good.
Because of the overexposure and the overstimulation of the brain. Or it's almost like a person that experienced any sort of trauma in the brain, whereas the neuroreceptors in the brain are now overreactive. And so they become hypersensitive, hyper aroused, and have a hyper awareness, and it causes hyperactivity because of the overactivity in the stimulation of the brain. And so now when they're engaged in some sort of screen time, social media, TV, whatever, it kind of feeds the overactivity of the brain, right? Yeah. Because it gets them engaged and the brain is constantly getting feedback. And so the receptors are like, bing, 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 like it's like a ping pong table. Yeah. But then when you put them in an environment that makes them sit still and quiet, just because their body is still, their brain is still ping, 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 because of the overstimulation. And so now you have an increased a prevalence of children with ADHD. Like we've always known about ADHD and we've always, had kids that have been diagnosed, but now it's over and beyond. And even speaking to how kids respond emotionally because they already have this overactive brain and overstimulation, something that should be easily worked through or talk through, they don't have the ability. So they feel their emotions bigger. They feel their sensations bigger because of the overstimulation, and they don't have the ability to self-regulate because that part of their brain is no longer working because it's
overworked. That's good.
Overworked.
That's good.
Yes.
Yeah. So the overworked almost has the opposite effect. So there it's being malnourished, I guess I want to say, because it's not having an opportunity to develop naturally on its own.
Yes,
it's
bypassing certain things that it needs because of how fast the information is being fed to it. And so it doesn't have the opportunity to develop the things that it needs to. And so it creates this chain of reactions that that individual will see now over their life. all because of the overstimulation of the brain at such an early age. I'll
That
give you
is
I'll
so
give you a
good.
better example. So
Sure.
typically with like babies, right? You know, when
Mhm,
you have babies, let's talk about food and their digestive system. The doctor
mhm,
will tell you, you know, at 6 weeks, you can start maybe you know, if they need to change their formula, you can maybe do different things with the formula. And then maybe
mhm,
at 3 months, you can add cereal to the bottle, right? And then
mhm,
maybe at
mhm,
6 months, you can start introducing soft foods. Then maybe
mhm.
at 9 months, you can start introducing, you know, if they have little teeth, like maybe foods that they can chew, they give you a schedule of when you can give them fruit juice and things to avoid. Why is that?
Yes.
Why can't you give a newborn cereal? Why can't
Mm,
you give a
mm,
newborn
mm.
cereal? Because
Come on
their
and break it down.
digestive system cannot handle it. The digestive system has not developed enough to be able to process and digest it. You can give it to them, but it's going to cause long-term effects in their digestive system. I know a
Mm.
friend who her baby wasn't sleeping and she introduced cereal at 6 weeks and she gave the
Ooh.
baby too much. So by the time that child was about 4 or 5 years old, he developed he had chronic constipation. And she told me the doctor told her that because she introduced cereal to his system too young, his body hadn't learned how to properly digest that type of food. So if I'm now giving my child something that the mind is not mentally ready to handle, I'm going to cause more damage. That's why you have to be mindful and you have to do everything in moderation. You
Mm.
have to. Because if I can corrupt or if I can cause issues to the digestive system, I also have to be aware that my overindulgence in screen time, social media, or whatever is going to inadvertently cause damage to the brain.
That is so
It
good.
just
That
makes
is so good.
it.
My nurse on here, our Keisha, she's over here loving this. I just saw her heart in the video. So she's a registered nurse. So I know she's all
Listen, now
about health
I ain't
and
no nurse,
nutrition.
but if I misspoke, please put us in the comments, you know. But that I'm in the ballpark.
Yes, yes.
I'm
You
in the
listen.
ballpark.
You hitting some home runs, man. You hitting some home runs. So even as you were speaking, though, it made me think of yes. Oh my gosh, Rosalie, you just oh gosh, you right there in the spirit realm. I said as you were speaking, I was like literally seeing me giving my daughter the keys to my SUV at the age of 12 and wonder why she would crash it up. She can't handle, just because she may look and got the hips and bumps and thumps and thighs and all that doesn't mean she can if her feet can barely touch the pedals. I'm going to give her the keys to my truck and expect her not to harm herself or hurt herself. It was, I know you, go ahead. I'm passing the baton. But I'm telling you, literally, as you were talking, I just saw these keys and me giving them to my daughter and wondered, like, go ahead, drive safely. I'll see you later. Like, no, you have to have a license at a certain age for a reason. It's beneficial for you.
So
Go ahead.
why is it then, knowing that as a
Mm,
good parent, I
come on.
know regardless of how mature, how tall, how big, how good of a lawnmower pusher my child is, at 12 years old, I have enough sense to not give him the keys to my car and say, go drive. Unsupervised, without any training, without any guidance. I know better than to do that, right? Because that can harm him physically. But when it comes to phones and the access that our children have, why is it that we as parents don't take that same caution and care and
Mm.
monitoring what our children are doing? You won't give them keys to a car because that can harm them physically, but you will give them a device that has unlimited access to worlds, to portals, to avenues that you are unaware of and not be concerned that it can damage their soul. There is a problem with that.
Y'all, I'm clutching my pearls if I had some on. Y'all see? Because I'm telling y'all, this is a rebuke for me too. It's not just
And
y'all,
I
y'all.
say we, because my
Yeah,
boys are older, but I
yeah.
would give them a tablet in a heartbeat. but people perish for lack of knowledge. Like I didn't know,
Yes.
as much as I know now about the spiritual world. But also the
Yes.
enemy has changed the game. When we first had access to social media, we were trying to make MySpace pages. I wanted my glitter and my music in the background. Like that was about the extent. I wanted a MySpace page, right? There really wasn't a lot of harm in that. But now, you have instant access to pornography. You have instant access to drugs. You have instant access to witches. They have instant access to any and everything, but it is our responsibility to monitor. Sometimes I think that we feel that because we trust our children, we can't say, give me your phone, let me see what you've been doing. As a good parent, I think you should occasionally do a pop-up. You go in a room and make sure it's clean. You check in with the teachers and see how their grades are. You should randomly grab that phone and let me see. We're going to sit down together. And you can see, based on their feed, what are they watching? Who are they texting? What are they snapping? I think as parents, we have to be more involved because the enemy knows that we are unaware. We are unaware. And I get it. We are busy. It's easier to allow them to have phones. Again, this is not a shame. This is awareness because it is affecting our youth. The song said that I believe our children are our future. Teach them well. We have to be willing to teach them well. It is not the world's responsibility. It is not my church's responsibility to parent my children. It is not the school's responsibility. It is my responsibility to be aware of what my children have access to.
Oh, we got a question, Coach Holly. So thank you. I'm from my good dear friend. I love it a life. Monica asked, what would be the remedy for change with toddlers and their devices? Is it to gradually wean them off of it or just stop it cold turkey? What would you recommend?
I wouldn't recommend stopping it cold turkey because their little underdeveloped minds won't necessarily understand that, and it's going to make life really, really difficult for you. But I would recommend maybe weaning and have structured time that they are allowed to maybe use their tablet. And so it may be that, you give them, once they get dressed in the morning, maybe you're getting ready and they have a couple of minutes. It may be that you give them, 10 or 15 minutes to watch a show, but it has to be that you got to be willing to fill that time with something else. So if you take the tablet and they're just kind of left to their own devices, that's not necessarily a remedy either. So it's going to be more work on you in the beginning because now you have to teach them how to entertain themselves. Now you have to teach them that it's okay to not have a device or something in their hand. And you're going to have to also mirror that behavior. That's another thing that we have to do better of. And that was something that me and Nakia were talking about earlier, is that, man, I'm guilty. Like I'll get on a TikTok and now it's like 2 hours have gone by because it is so addictive. So I think as parents, if we expect them to do differently, we have to also mirror the behavior that we're expecting to see. Buy them board games, get things that you guys can do together. Take them outside, let them play in the dirt. It is okay, but we have to be willing to show them that there is other ways of entertaining other than a TV or having something in their hand. So I would definitely maybe start cutting back, and you're going to see the behaviors of an addict. They're going to be fussy. They're going to be upset. You're going to
irritable.
They're going to be irritable. They may not start sleeping as well. So you kind of have to be prepared and expect it for there to be maybe an all hell is breaking loose before it gets better. But it's like a baby when you wean them off of a pacifier. It's the same thing. They are not happy when you're trying to wean them off of it, but you do it in you do it gradually. You're not going to take the passy to school, or, you only can have the passy, right before you go to sleep. When you come home, you don't get passy. It's the same with their tablet, but you are the parent. They don't have the ability to do, but only what we allow them to do. And again, it's going to be more work from you initially, but in the end, it's going to be worth it. You just have to figure out how to now replace that time with something else.
Yes. And I even heard something practical as you were speaking to, Coach Holly. Monica, or whoever else, watches it on the replay as well. Y'all put y'all questions in. I'm checking on Facebook and I'm trying to jump over to YouTube as well. When you're doing those gradual, those gradated things, you're making changes, I would even recommend doing it over a weekend, because at least you have time to really be committed to it on a Friday night, Saturday, and a Sunday, versus doing it during the week when it's like, whoo, you sleep deprived, you're irritable, you frustrated yourself, and then you give in. Mm-hmm. So to have optimal success, I would say any type of change when it comes to a toddler or even your preteen for that matter, be prepared for it, I would say, over a weekend time. That way you can kind of go through some of those changes that they may experience. So just trying to always put some practicality in there as well. My gosh, it is 7:36, Coach Holly.
We touched nothing on our outline.
We did. Don't you say that. Yes, we did.
Okay, a few things. We kind of. Okay. So, yeah.
All right. Okay. I'm flowing. All right. So we even talked about symptoms. We did cover that, the withdrawal of social media. We did cover that. You talked about the brain development with the frontal lobe. Come on, when I tell y'all, Coach Holly not trying to give us credit, y'all, I promise y'all we hitting these points.
You did. My bad.
See, come on now. Tell the truth now. All right. What we did not touch on yet was the effects of the pandemic. Please give some insight on, and I believe we are still seeing some of the effects of the pandemic, even though everybody thinks the pandemic is done and we over it. Y'all, COVID is still alive and well. Let's be clear. People are still passing away from COVID. I don't know what number we on, but I'm sure we passed 19. So yes, and even those who were in the height of it, like those who graduated high school and didn't get to experience proms and in-person graduations, those had effects as well. So yes, care to share about that, Coach Holly?
So let's back up just a little bit and just talk about how just social media has impacted, our youth and young adults as a whole, right? Okay. So we can talk about how like maybe the pandemic just made that already an existing pandemic that much worse. And we kind of started talking about just how, the things that we faced growing up and that the kids are now, it's just a totally different world. And so, again, the fact that they have so much instant access to different things, it also shows them the access that they don't have to certain things. So what now becomes is, and this is something that many adults deal with too, is comparison. Because we know that social media, you can be anybody and anything you want to be, and you can portray a life that doesn't even exist on social media, right? Ooh, and so now you have youth, young adults who are already dealing with self-esteem issues. They may already be dealing with, feeling that maybe they don't fit in. And so now they go to social media, who now has this, what was the term that you use? Unrealistic reality, or what was it?
Oh yeah, and ideations.
Unrealistic ideations. And so they feel that what they're seeing in social media is a world that really exists. Now, some of it is real, but 90% of what we see on social media are glimpses of people's lives. It is not the full picture. And so they get fixated on a snap of somebody's life, and they now compare themselves to this quick moment in time that may or may not even be real. So they see their peers. I'm gonna tell you something that was really challenging for me is like prom. So when we went to prom, I begged my mama for a dress that had a little hole like right here. Listen, it was I begged, and she wouldn't have it. But when we went to prom, there was no social media to post your prom pictures on. Right. You wanted to have a cute dress. I wanted a French roll with the little curls and that little banana peel. Like
you had a little embellishments in it. I had the little gold things in it. Couldn't tell me nothing.
And you might get to drive, your parents' car. Wasn't no renting a car. And again, I'm not shaming. I'm just telling you what kids are seeing. But it was none of that. Now it's like when you see prom, it's like
a wedding.
It's a whole thing. It's and listen, if I had a girl right now that was going to prom, I probably would, but I don't know if I would go to the extent that, your prom dress is $10,000, but talking about this reality. So maybe my mom can afford to do all the things that I'm seeing everybody else's parents do. They're renting the, the expensive sports vehicle. I got a custom made $10,000 dress. I got bands. I'm just, I'm doing it big for prom.
Yes.
My parents may not can afford that. And so now I'm already feeling that I don't measure up because this is all you see plastered across social media. And this is just me seeing people that have children going to prom. And the pictures were beautiful. But imagine those individuals who have friends who have gone to prom, or they have more access because that's the people that they follow. So now I'm comparing myself to others because of social media. Whereas when we went to prom, you didn't know what anybody was wearing until you showed up, and you just wanted to stay out past curfew.
That was it. But I'm gonna take you one better, and y'all know I always we gotta be the yin to the yang. My mind goes to, we had a lot more room to make a mistake. I feel like if we said something bad to Johnny, or we did something wrong, or we showed something we had no business showing, it was within our own little circle and our own little community. Now you send one wrong inappropriate pic, or you put one wrong inappropriate post, and this could be viral in 2.5 seconds. Your whole life, their margin of error is so small that I've seen anxiety in youth that I have never seen before at this capacity. Even at the people that I work with on my job, y'all, I mean, whole 25-year-olds that are taking medication for anxiety because they are so anxious. And I'm like, you still living at home and you barely paying bills and you're anxious? And they are seriously like, I see hands shaking. I mean, they're like, if I don't take my medication, Miss Nakia, it doesn't go well. It's not good for me. And I'm like, my God. Like, and I know, I'm not saying that that's everything, but I know a lot of that is from comparison, shaming, even things that maybe they might have been exposed to or been, shamed about, with mistakes that they have made, been plastered all over. It's everything is heightened, be it good or be it bad. Yeah. And I just believe the margin of error for mistakes is so, it's very dangerous. I feel like that they can't make a mistake and it not be public knowledge the way we could make a mistake in our youth. Yeah. And that's concerning.
And I think, that's where that responsibility that as a parent, we have to make sure that our children understand that just because you delete it off of your phone or you delete it off of your page doesn't mean that it goes away. We all know and have seen stories of adults who have gone on with their lives, but maybe they, try for a political office or they get this really great job. And this skeleton from social media shows up from 8 years ago because they made a racist comment or, they had some questionable behavior. And people screenshot that stuff and they save it for their moment to sabotage and blackmail them.
Come on.
So I think we have to be, the person that lets them know, listen, just once you put it out there, it's out there forever. And you never know when this information may come back up. And when they become, a little bit older, like maybe they're 17, 18, of course, at that point, we don't necessarily have the ability to control what they do because we're not with them 24 hours a day. But them fully understanding the consequences, of social media. But you're right, though, like you live under a radar, like anything that you post, it may not even be a picture. It could be something that you said you had an ignorant moment. Well, it may not be a situation right now. But the moment that you decide to do something great, somebody you didn't even know knew you will post it and tag you in it, right? And so I think, it does create this element of I live under a radar and I don't have room to make mistakes. And,
Yes.
we've seen as adults too, where we live in this cancel culture, where if you say something that somebody doesn't like, if you do something that somebody doesn't agree with, we flock to social media telling you how we feel about them, exposing them, uncovering them. And now the world knows about this thing that you may have done or this thing that you may have said. Or people who should have been your friend, will catch you when you are uncovered, take a picture of it and post it on social media. So we have to be even more mindful about the company that we keep. And so these are lessons that we have to now teach our children, that we didn't necessarily have to have somebody teach us about social media because it wasn't a thing. It just was not a thing. If anybody found out anything about you, it was because he say, she say at school, at recess. And you might be embarrassed if somebody know your business, but it dies down until the next thing goes on.
Absolutely.
And you can move on. But now they don't have the ability. I was thinking about, we have a governor here. He was going for governor. He was framed, and he was prominent, Black guy. And he was like kind of set up, was kind of just a mess. But somebody took a picture of him in a compromised situation, and now his political career will forever be ruined. Because although it's died down and it's not the topic of conversation, the moment that somebody gets wind that he's even thinking about doing something, it's going to come back up. So for his own sanity, for the sanity of his family, he has to now live in the shadows of a mistake that he made. And he won't ever be able to outlive that, because there's pictures, there's proof, there's social media. And I think that's a sad place to be in, that we don't have the ability to make mistakes, or we don't have the ability to just maybe have human moments, because we're going to be canceled, or somebody will wait until the opportune time to bring up something that I did a long time ago. I'm thankful they didn't have social media when I was coming up. Listen.
Let me tell you something.
I am thankful. And it's so funny, you hear now people talking about like the Freaknik documentaries, and they're like, oh my God.
Thank you, Jesus.
Yeah. But it was people, they know what they were doing.
Yes.
So you just have to, I think, like I said, we just have to let them know the responsibilities. Just like when you teach your 16-year-old how to drive. You sit them down, you tell them the rules, you tell them the laws. They have to go take driver's ed. They have to go and take the test for the drive. You just don't get keys. There's a process. And I think it should be the same thing with phones. You got to earn a phone. I don't know nothing about your friends having a phone. What you need one for? You and me all the time. Here's my phone. Call Lil John.
It was children in my youngest daughter's kindergarten class. And they have, and I'm talking about y'all, not a phone where, because y'all can talk about me, I don't even care. My children still don't have phones that have plans. I'm like, you wait, you connect to some Wi-Fi, and then you can, okay, because I don't even want you having that much access to when I'm not present. You know what I'm saying? You wait till you get to somebody's house, Wi-Fi, at least somebody can see you walking by a screen and see what you do. And so at kindergarten, they have full phones, and I'm talking about the latest phones. And I said, why does Sarah, that wasn't a name, y'all, need that at 5 and 6 years old? Why does Sarah need a whole Apple phone 13? Like, why? Why does she need that? What? I mean, and again, I'm not that child's parent, but it's like, come on, your kindergarten, they need their own phone with their own plan. They don't. Anyway, so Kimberly said, our children are losing the art of being a child.
Oh, that is so good.
Isn't that so good?
Can I speak to that, Kimberly?
Absolutely.
So but here's the thing with that. Again, we can just kind of see the progression of where our children are losing the ability to be children, right? Because I wore pigtails until middle school. I was in 6th grade when my mama, I called them little dookie plaids. I was in 6th grade when she stopped giving me these part down the middle, plaid with the little bubblegum balls and bows on the end. And I used to get kind of grown, and I'd take my little pigtails and pin them up when I was going to school. And I dressed like a girl, like I dressed like a 10-year-old, 11-year-old. But now you see children where they don't look like children anymore. You know, you got little bitty babies with lace fronts and getting micro braids. And, you know, we think it's cute for them to wear outfits that are inappropriate. So we've matured them at a faster rate. And again, I believe a lot of this comes from social media. We scrolling on TikTok or we see something on Facebook and we like, oh, my little poo-poo will look cute in that. And so we don't allow them to have the innocence that they need. And we don't give them the opportunity to grow them up. We speed them up too quick. And I've seen it even with little boys. You know, we let them have these mature, you know, maybe hairstyles or, you know, we think it's cute, you know, when, you know, little Johnny, you know, has his pants sagging and he got on the newest J's, but he can't even spell his name. And so I definitely agree that we have definitely sped up how our children grow and mature, and they're not children anymore. You rarely see girls, like we had bow boxes. Girls don't have bow boxes anymore because they don't wear bows. You know, you don't really see girls in the cute little lacy socks, you know, we just don't. And again, I get it, but there has to be moderation. You know, it's one thing, you know, if your little girl has something special going on and you want to get her a cute little hairdo, cool. But when she's going to school with a full ponytail and she's 5, like.
But if I can speak to that though, Coach Holly, I just being a mother of 2 girls, I know I was getting them ready for my middle schooler who's really 6th grade. It wasn't even middle school in my day. That was 7th and 8th grade was middle school, but now 6th grade, they're throwing them in middle school. I digress. And so she was going to a dance and it was cold out. And I said, well, you have to wear stockings because ladies, we wear stockings. You know what I mean? And she just was like, I mean, hemmed and hawed. And why do I have to? What? I didn't care if do you want to go? You'll put some stockings on. Okay. But I'm going somewhere with this. When I tell y'all, I don't even know if I should be giving these stores these credit. Y'all sponsor me. We went to Burlington Coat Factory, y'all. We went to TJ Maxx. We went to, when I tell y'all, I could not believe, I called my mother. I said, Mom, do you believe I cannot find stockings? I couldn't find stockings. You know where I finally found stockings? At Target is when I finally found some tights. Yep, tights and really that's what they ended up being. But tights or stockings is when they did have some sheer. But I had to search to 3 and 4 different stores. So they don't even make it easy for you to find shorts. And I try to find them now for the summer. It's booty cut shorts. But I said, what happened to the shorts that used to go to your knees? Like, where do you find those? I mean, retail makes it very difficult to not dress your child like what we wear. Because it's, where's the kiddie section, y'all? I mean, and they'll have it when they're toddlers, but even when you're talking about preteen and younger, that everything is cropped. I said, do you see your mama wearing a crop top? No, then you're not wearing a crop top. Right. You know, but it's like you talk about being that model. Like I personally, I don't have TikTok. I'm not on IG. It's a lot of social media that I'm not on purposefully because I don't want that to take so much of I don't have a lot of time to give. I just don't. So I'm on Facebook and YouTube and that's about it. And maybe that's not helping my brand. But guess what? My spirit man is very full because I don't have a lot of time to be on all these platforms that are, let's go there for a second, y'all, engineered to keep us addicted to the screen. They are they get engineers for these social media platforms to study the brain and what can cause you to stay on that screen longer. And guess what? It's working.
And that's, you know, TikTok is a Chinese application and it's not even available in China. And, you know, I saw a study or somebody was talking about it because the Chinese don't even use social media the way that we do. And so they know that it puts us at a disadvantage when it comes to the overall progression of the U.S. as a country, the overall progression of our people when it comes to technology and everything else. they don't have to fight us in any sort of biological war, or nuclear war. They are winning us in the war of social media. Because if I can give you a 90-second, 60-second clip about something that stimulates your mind, and then immediately you get another one, and then immediately you get another one, and they have it so programmed with the algorithm,
Yeah.
They know what you like. And so if you click on this, then they'll give you more of that. And so now they're feeding you based off of your interests. And
Yes.
so an hour has gone by, 2 hours have gone by. You've wasted a whole day on social media. And like I said, I'm guilty. Like I'll, maybe get a notification in the morning, and then that notification turns into, well, what is this about? And then, you got to go read the comments.
Right.
So now you're reading the comments, and now you're trying to figure out, oh, well, who is this? So then you go to their page. I know I am not the only one.
You're not. You are not.
Say me in the comments. I know y'all do it.
You're not alone.
But it is addictive. And I've had to be intentional about not picking up my phone during certain parts of the day.
Yes.
Or, given like you got 20 minutes to scroll this good social media, and you need to put it down. But if you do it automatically, you go to the bathroom, you take your phone. You got a break, you take your phone. You sitting in the car at the traffic light, you check your phone. Yes. You in Walmart waiting in line, you got your phone out. So we have even unaware found ourselves become also entangled in this social media because it's instant, it's access, and some of it can be good. Like I think that you can find out certain things that are going on social media. So I'm not saying that all social media is bad, but again, it is what we're doing in moderation. And so I had to repent because I had gotten the habit of, I'm gonna get up, and instead of praying first, I had a notification. I'm just gonna check this notification. Prayer time gone. So I have to now be intentional about it can wait.
It can wait.
But it's just like there's this thing that's like, I just gotta check my phone. And don't mess around and leave home and you don't have your phone. You will tear your car inside out.
Absolutely.
Trying to find that phone, or you'll go back home.
Oh yeah, I've been 5 minutes from my job and call my principal. I gotta
go home and get my phone.
I have to go. And now, I understand. Yeah, go get your it's a no, a given. They're like, oh yeah, go get your phone because they get it. They understand. We were able to have whole lives, productive lives without a cell phone.
Because if something happens, you have an emergency contact that can get in contact with you on your job.
Yes.
So it's not that you're worried that something will happen and the people won't have access to you. We have become addicted to our phones, like it's with us everywhere. And when you were talking earlier, you were talking about how when you've gone out to eat and, you notice that, eating should be a social kind of thing as a family, or maybe you got a meeting, but everybody's head is down.
The top of their
we look up, we order our food, and even while we're eating, we'll checking social media, we're eating. And so now we've even lost the ability to connect because we're so engrossed with our phones. But
that's why I say it's important to be intentional. Like my children know, if we paying this good money to be out at this good here restaurant, when we go here and sit down, I tell them devices down, and they know. And that don't mean with it up, so you can see the notification or your friend text you with a face down, and they know. And some of their girlfriends, they don't like to come out with us when we go, oh, they're going to make us put our phone. Yeah, or don't come. That makes the bill cheaper. So that works too. No problem. But they know if they're coming out with us, you have to put your device down, and we're going to have a conversation around the table because that's what it's for. And I said, why come out to a restaurant to eat and connect? And we could have ordered our food to go and take it on back home, and everybody can be in their own separate spaces and locations. Like, no, but this is exactly why we don't know what's going on in our children's lives. We're losing different connections because the isolation has just come to an all-time high. We'll come home and everybody's going in their prospective places and spaces. And I'm like, we're going to spend time together. But it's like you have to be intentional about that. So we got another question, Coach Holly. I don't want to Labor the time, y'all. Where does the time go, y'all? It's almost.
We all right. We all right.
All right. Coach Holly said we all right. Yeah. Monica really on this. She's a G mom, y'all. So that's why Monica's really on this toddler and children thing. So she said, is there a way to have boundaries / discipline in relation to childhood development when parents themselves don't want to limit or stifle their child's creativity by setting boundaries or disciplining them so they can allow them to have relative free reign? How could we strike a balance with that when they're like, oh, just let them be creative and just let them be free and be them? Like how could we broach that conversation?
It's difficult because as the GMA, you probably spend less time with them. Mm-hmm. But what you can do is structure the time that they have with you. And so if they come to your house, your rules may be different. They may not be able to sit on their tablet. But I think also maybe being able to show them that there's other ways to be creative outside of electronics because they're not really being creative. So, if you have the ability to maybe get an easel and get paper and, let them finger paint or being able to paint or, try to figure out what the child likes. One of the things that I have told some of my parents in regards to therapy who have had the same issue, take them to an arts and crafts store. You would be surprised how much they didn't even know this stuff exists. You can take them to Michael's, you can take them to Hobby Lobby, whatever craft store, maybe in your area, and find the age appropriate thing for them to do. When I was coming up, we used to have Rex lace. And so we would make these really cool keychains with the Rex lace. And I had the stuff for a long time, but we loved it. And so we had competitions of who would make the coolest keychain. And so maybe they want to make little bracelets or, maybe they like building. So there's all sorts of projects where you can get little wood outlines and you can build it and paint it. So take them to an arts and crafts store because they may be able to tap into a hidden talent or a hidden interest that maybe nobody even knew was there. But that is a way that you can win the parents over. That way, if they're spending a day with you or a weekend with you, you can say that we did arts and crafts all weekend. And if the parents are able to see that by decreasing that screen time, you now have a decrease in some of the behaviors that they're seeing, that'll make them a believer. But by you just saying, well, little poo-poo don't need to be on that tablet all day, is not going to be as effective as you showing them that they can do other things and it also is beneficial. But again, I think because we don't want to put in the work and we know what it's going to require if we take the tablet, to be intentional about taking them outside or playing a game. Most parents just don't have the bandwidth to do that because it requires more. But I think you have the ability to control what goes on in your home. And like I said, just being able to show them that it is effective.
I love that too. Y'all know I'm going to bring in the practicality too. Not that what Coach Holly said wasn't. I'm thinking even for those who may be thinking on a budget, because AC Moore and Michaels, they are, cost effective. But even Five Below, y'all, I've taken my 2 to Five Below, and they have coloring books and they have paint and they have stuff in there that you can find. Things you could put together, board games and puzzles and things like that, right? $5 or less, y'all. So we can definitely get it done. We can take our little $5 that we would use to get our Starbucks coffee, even though Starbucks costs more than $5. We know that, y'all. But we can still be able to get these crafts for them on a dime if we are intentional about it. So they're definitely
or puzzles, because kids just want stimulus. But if you take the tablet and you don't do anything, I think that's where the issue, becomes a problem. But just being able to replace it, like I said, if you take the tablet, being able to replace it with something else so that they have some sort of, stimulus.
Yes. Is it time for the dog to go out?
He went out, yeah. Jesus, Gizmo don't want to be acting right. He know about an hour. He gets to acting silly, but he out.
Yes. He's keeping us on track, y'all. Because Coach Holly, she wanted to have y'all in here for 2 hours. I'm not doing it.
Okay, so real quick, I'll touch on the pandemic, and then I think that'll kind of bring us to a close. And so we were just talking about kind of the already pre-existing things that were happening with social media. So now you take a group of individuals who are already kind of socially awkward, somewhat socially isolated, and you place them in a pandemic where they don't have the ability to go see friends, they don't have the ability to go to school. So even those few social encounters that they did have, for a full year, they didn't have any of those things. So the only way for them to communicate with their friends, the only way that we communicate with family was through social media. It was through FaceTime. It was through, WhatsApp. It was through, that became their whole
Zoom.
world. So we already had a pandemic where our youth were already engulfed in social media. Now, as a parent, I can't tell you to get off Facebook. I can't tell you to stop watching TikTok. That's literally all you have. And I think that as parents, we kind of overcompensated and we allowed it because we knew it was challenging for them. And it was the only outlet that they had. So that just made the symptoms and everything else that were already going on worse. And so now you take school is online, church is online. Everything that we do is online. And like you're talking about some of the young adults that maybe went through the pandemic. So my son was a senior, in 2020. So he didn't have prom, he didn't have graduation, he didn't have any of that. So that was really difficult to, look forward to all of these milestones. And then your graduation is a drive-through at a motorsport complex. Like family can't come, you can't have a graduation party, you can't do any of the things that we all envisioned growing up. Like this is your moment, and it was taken from them. So I think a lot of our youth that should have graduated in 2020 really struggled with not being able to celebrate those milestones and accomplishments. The first year of college was at home. So his freshman year, you still at the house because there was no on-campus college. So when he did go to school his sophomore year, he struggled because he had been home for 2 years. So that first year on campus was a struggle. He was really depressed that first week or two, and he was anxious because you've been isolated for 2 years, and it's now you're just being thrown, into the college environment without really being fully prepared because you couldn't go on college tours. You had no really idea what the college campus looked like. We just, shook a bottle and picked a school. It was like, this is what we're going. And so that was a huge adjustment. And I'm glad that he's been able to adjust and acclimate. But just like you said, so many 20-somethings are really having a hard time because of the way that they didn't have that smooth transition. And so because they were isolated, many of them chose to remain online for school. So they never had that connection or that college life experience. Then they graduate from college being at home for 4 years. So they don't have the social skills that are necessary to get a job. They don't know how to, really showcase themselves like the skills that we had, 18, 19, trying to go to McDonald's or somewhere and get a job. They can't even do that. The other thing that I think that has caused increased anxiety as a result of the pandemic is so much instability. Like the housing market has changed, the job market has changed. And I think there's still this underlying fear that many of us still face. Like you talked about, COVID is still here, and it is in some capacity. And so now it makes it difficult for our young adults to actually launch and get out into the real world because, you have adults that are our age that are still struggling trying to find a job. So before, the 20-something jobs, only the 20-somethings were applying for them. But because of how the job market is, you have people that are later in life having to go back to work. So now they're taking the jobs that the 20-somethings would normally have. And because of how technology and things have changed, those job markets where they could do certain things, they're being replaced by robots. There's a lot of talk about AI and artificial intelligence. So there's a lot of insecurities that our 20-somethings have in regards to their future. And many of them can't afford to leave the nest. So that creates another level of anxiety and low self-esteem. Because although I'm at the age, I'm 21, 22, 23, I've successfully completed a 4-year degree, I can't afford to move out of my parents' house because I can't afford apartment rent because my job isn't going to pay me enough. So now they struggle with being able to find independence because I still need mama and them, and I still probably got to live by their rules. But I feel like I'm trapped because I want to get out, but I can't afford to. And so you have a lot of intergenerational housing situations as a result of COVID. So you have the older youth, young adults, not able to move out, or they moved out but had to come home because of COVID, because they lost their jobs, whatever the case may be. And then we have grandparents who maybe were self-sufficient, but now because they can't work or whatever they have going on, they've moved back into the home. So you now have like 3 generations living in one home. So that creates a sense of stress all by itself, and things are not necessarily getting better from an economical standpoint. So I can't say, well, I'm gonna save my money, in a year from now I'll move out. That may be an unrealistic expectation that they now have. And so it's now self-defeating. Why even try if I'm still gonna be stuck at home? Or why do the things that I need to do when the economy is not getting any better? So it does create anxiety. It creates depression. It creates all of these things. And then I get on social media and see everybody out here living their best life. And now I'm comparing myself and feeling that there must be something wrong with me because I'm still living at home with my mom and them. And it's not. That's just kind of what things are right now.
Yes. So as we kind of draw this to a close, y'all, and wrap this up, we want to talk about some takeaways that we hope you are gleaning from today's discussion. Definitely, we want to be mindful of the screen time, y'all. And I'm taking that in for myself, being more mindful of maybe, just weaning it down some, just taking it down gradually. So like Coach Holly said, so it's not so you can't just snatch stuff away from folks. We wouldn't like it done to us that way either. So just maybe doing some gradual things to decrease the screen time. What's another takeaway you would take? We can go back and forth, Coach Holly. I'm just kind of gleaning from the discussion. What would be a takeaway for you?
I think one of the biggest takeaways is, like I said, being able to lead by example. It's difficult to ask our children to do something, but then they see us constantly on our phones. And I like what you said earlier, is that we don't know what's going on with our children because we are not having those conversations. We are not taking the time to talk to them. How was school today? Is there anything bothering you? Is there anything that you want to talk about? Is there anything I need to know? And so we have to be willing to create that safe space so that our children do feel that they have the ability to come to us and we'll listen. Don't have them come to you and you like, oh, so what happened at school? Oh, okay. Yeah. Say what now? Because I'm guilty. I'm guilty. So we want them to open up and we want them to talk to us, but we're distracted. And
come on.
Now we get offended when they don't tell us anything. Well, why did I have to hear from so-and-so? Well, when they try to come and talk to you, this is what they got. Say what? Oh, what now? Oh, okay.
You talking. We talking. Give me one more minute. One more minute, turning the whole half an hour. We still give me one more minute. Right. But also while you were talking to Coach Hart, it reminded me of when we also say, do as I say, not as I do. Y'all know they ain't work for us. We did exactly what more things are caught than taught.
Oh, that's good.
So we really do have to be mindful of our actions. I remember one time, and I'm in a whole mentorship, y'all, and I'm not even often on social media, but a lot of times I'm on my messenger answering stuff as well. And they'll be like, oh, she on the phone again. She messaging again. And I just was like, you know what? I'm going to even be more mindful that certain messages, they're just going to have to wait. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? I don't want to give that perception that my phone or my responsibilities in ministry, let's not go there, that's a whole other live, are more important than the people that live in my home. Mm-hmm. That's not balanced. It's not balanced.
You can leave it open. Just leave it open.
So we definitely, have to be more aware of that, of just like you said, being models ourselves before we're telling somebody, do as I say, not as I do.
No.
Also, take away from me, I love the practical nature of the toddler piece that you gave. Doing more arts and crafts. Even I know my children, they love to draw. They love to do to get the little doll heads out and try. Oh, mommy, I'm gonna try to do box braids so I can do it myself one day. Like they like to do hands-on activities. They like to say, let's pull out the Monopoly. Let's pull out the Uno. Like they're still those type of kids. And I like that about them. They still don't mind going outside and playing. So just doing more things, y'all, where we're more engaged and more. That's the thing. I was going to say that too. Thank you, Holy Spirit, for bringing that back. When Coach Holly was saying, asking how their day was, how was your day? Fine. Like, we can't just allow it to be left at the one word answer. We have to ask the WH questions, the who, the what, the when, the why, the what. We've got to ask WH questions, y'all. If we want to have more in-depth type of conversations with the how was your day? I promise you, it was good. It was fine. It was okay. It'll stop right there. You'd be like, oh, I thought I was going to get more than that. But then we also have to learn how to communicate effectively too, to get the information that we're seeking. Balls loud back to you, Coach Holly. Take another takeaway for you.
The last thing that I'll say is be more involved with your children's phones. You have to remember they don't have jobs. They don't pay the bill on their phone. Do random, just pop up in their room, they on their phone. Oh, what we looking at? And sit down with them. And you will see the discomfort that comes across their face. But it's okay. But let them know you're not going to be in trouble. I just want to see what you're doing. You know, especially the first time. And see what's on their feed. See what they're liking. See what they're commenting on. And then if they say, oh, well, if maybe you go to something and, you know, you got to have a password, unlock it. Oh, I'm not doing it. I would go the next day. And a lot of times with the phones, you can like disengage it or deactivate it. That's fine. I'm not going to fight you about your phone. Or, you know, you have the ability to put, what's it called? Like, you can put
the parental controls.
Parental controls. I don't care how old they are. You can put parental controls on that phone that you control what they do and don't have access to. And they may pitch a fit and ooh, rah, rah, rah. But again, you ain't got no job. When you get a job and you paying your own phone bill, hey, I'll back off. But until then, this phone is in my name. So it's my phone. Yeah, you know. And again, they're going to bug because it's going to be new. But once they realize that you just going to randomly pop up and check that phone, I can promise you some of that stuff that they may ain't got no business doing, they will stop because they don't know. And you just let them know, okay, so, you know, I need to owe you an apology. You know, I didn't do a good job of setting the boundaries or the expectations that I have for you of the phone. So this is what I expect from you moving forward, because you can't necessarily punish them and flip out. Like, don't do that. You know, if you see stuff that they ain't got no business looking at, don't flip out. Yes. Let them know, I don't want you seeing this. I don't want you doing this. Here's why. Give them an explanation. But then set the expectation and the boundaries moving forward, because now they know. I will be randomly checking your phone. If I see something in here that I shouldn't see, I'm taking your phone. Like, you can say it's going to be a month the first time or whatever, but don't just flip out. And you know how we do, we go all off, because now you're going to, you know, make it difficult for them to be able to open up and trust you. So don't flip out, because you may see some stuff that just, like you said, you clutch your pearls. Explain to them why it's inappropriate. Explain to them why you have a concern for it, but set the boundaries, set your expectations for their phone moving forward. And make, do you understand me? And then have them repeat back to you, what you said. What did I just say? Right. What did you hear me say? And then you hug them. I love you. It's my job to keep you safe. And most of the time they'll understand. But like I said, the worst thing that you can do is see something crazy and you lose it. Don't do that. Because then they're going to hide everything from you. And you don't want your children hiding things from you.
And nowadays, too, moms and dads, it's not even just the lust and perversion piece, because I think our minds always go to, we're going to see something inappropriate with that. Now they're sliding in all type of third eye and witches and spells and curse. I mean, it's real subtle, y'all. My classmate in my daughter's classroom, she gave my daughter a bracelet, y'all, just the cutest thing. And then I leaned in and looked at the charm that was hanging, and it was an eye. I said, the devil is that's not. And I didn't flip, like Coach Holly said. I sat down and we had a conversation. Like, do you know what this represents? This is talking about the third eye. This is witchcraft. We don't. And my daughter, I mean, she leaned in. She was like, really? I didn't know. And it just opened up this whole dialogue for us to talk about even witchcraft and divination. That, we may think they're not ready to have these conversations. And she was. She said, oh, mommy, we got to get this out of here. Take this off of me. And I mean, and we didn't just throw it in the trash. We threw it in the dumpster outside the house. Because I don't even want no third eye, nothing in this house, okay, in the name of Jesus. So it will, if you remain calm and we watch our facial expressions, y'all, and our body language, it really will lend itself to some dialogue that we actually needed to have, that I didn't realize that she was ready to have. And it just opened up. And so now when things come up and we could be out in the store and we'll see, and she's like, Mommy, is that the third eye? Yes, it is. And what is that? Mommy, that's witchcraft. So yeah, I mean, and that was conversations, I promise y'all, I wasn't having at 10. Probably
we didn't have to, because we didn't have access to it. We were told, don't talk to strangers and don't take candy from strangers. That was the extent of our parents' concerns. Don't talk to strangers. Don't eat nothing from nobody's house. I don't know. But now you do have to have these conversations because it's so subtle. And we don't understand why the church is losing the war with our children, because the enemy don't have to be loud and boisterous. All I got to do is bring something across social media that catches your attention. Just like your daughter now has a third eye. We don't know what kind of demonic whatever was attached to that. But had you not being aware and being able to educate her, she may have thought that it's cool to practice opening up the third eye because it makes me smart. Like, we just don't know our children's perspective. But if you're not having a conversation with them, you better believe that TikTok, Facebook, Snap, and everybody else is teaching your children about witchcraft. They can learn how to cast spells. So we have to be more mindful. Like I said, it's not about you being controlling. It's not about you not wanting them to have access to certain things. But at the end of the day, you have to think about, this is my child's soul. This is their soul. It's bigger than entertainment. This is their soul. And it's our responsibility to protect it. We are their gatekeeper.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So we want to provide you all with some resources, right, Coach Holly? Anyone who, are we there yet? I think yes. Any resources?
So the mental health awareness, some of the websites is the National Suicide Prevention Line. And that's a website that anybody can call and talk to somebody that may be experiencing suicidal ideations. It doesn't matter the age. And then, of course, the Veterans Crisis Line is for people that are a veteran or have family members that are veterans. And then SAMHSA is a world national mental health association. And so that can be information that's helpful. And then if you feel that your child or maybe anybody that you're connected to could benefit from some sort of behavioral health treatment, that's the information to find a treatment center. And then lastly is NAMI. NAMI is across the US, but it's usually local hubs. And NAMI stands for the National Association of Mental Illness. And so NAMI typically has like these workshops that you can go to, and they are in support of families that are dealing with loved ones or individuals that suffer from mental illness. But sometimes they also do workshops and provide information for parents in regards to their children, teenagers, and young adults. And so as always, if there's more information that you guys need, or more specifically, not sure where to start as far as getting help or assistance for your youth or young adult, feel free to reach out to either one of us. I will be more than happy to, provide what other resources or maybe other avenues that I have. And I'm sure, Miss Speaks will as well. Because we just, like I said, this was just to get you guys, just to provide information because our youth they are just really struggling. And if it doesn't start with us, we are the body, it has to start with us because this is our future and we have to do better with making sure that our future remains bright.
Absolutely. Oh my gosh, Coach Holly. Kimberly said, awesome discussion. Looking forward to the next one.
She prophesied. She pulling.
Yes, pulling. Coach Holly, now we do. We love this. We love the tag team. We love the pull. We love that we have a whole agenda outline and we go however the spirit leads. So we thank you all for the support. We thank you for those who are going to watch it on replay. Please be sure to watch it on either Facebook or on YouTube at Redeem Podcast with Nakia. And Coach Holly's channel is what she usually has it on her Facebook page as well. Mm-hmm. What do you usually air it on, Coach Holly?
So I'm just on my personal Facebook page, but I am going to share it to my branded page, The Multifaceted Soul, and then also on my YouTube. All of my handles are The Multifaceted Soul. I'm on IG, YouTube, Facebook, my website. It's all The Multifaceted Soul. And there's a couple of other videos that we've done as well. And so,
yes. Yes,
Yeah.
please go back and look at some of
Yes.
our other content. Yes, been some
Yes.
great discussions on just mental health and trauma and healing. And we always provide practical tips. We always provide strategies so that way we can overcome together, y'all. So we
Yes.
thank you for joining us tonight. And everyone have an awesome night. And I'm going to start using my tagline again, y'all. Remember, we overcome by the blood of the Lamb and by the word of our testimony. So make sure y'all share your testimony. It'll bless somebody. Bye.
Good night, guys.
Night.